one time I went outside and it was the most beautiful sunset I ever saw. The wind was blowing. The air smelled great. So I just stood there in the majesty of nature and took a great big breath in and sucked in a bug and almost died.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Episode 72. Is Bluey autistic? Welcome to the Autistic Culture Podcast. Each episode, we dive deep into autistic contributions to society and culture by introducing you to some of the world's most famous and successful autistics in history.
Before we get started, a quick disclaimer on how we use the word autistic. The purpose of this show is not to diagnose the people or characters we discuss as autistic. While some may have announced being autistic, what we're really sharing here is our observation of what is representative of autistic culture. It can sometimes be difficult for autistic people to celebrate our natural tendencies and traits due to the perception of autism as a disorder that needs to be fixed, a long history of damaging medical interventions to get autistics to fit in with mainstream culture, and protective masking skills many of us have developed to try to stay safe.
Whether you are autistic or just love someone who is, your hosts, Dr. Angela Lauria, the linguistic autistic,
and licensed psychological practitioner Matt Lowry, welcome you to take this time to be fully immersed in the language, values, traditions, norms, and identity of Autistica. Hey, Angela.
Hey, Matt.
Oh, man.
I just heard the title of this show and my mind is blown. Let's tell everybody what we're talking about.
Yeah, because this episode is called Autism.
Autism. Is that your Australian accent? Are we going to do this whole episode with Australian accents?
If I did, the entire country would stone me.
Bad.
Yeah, I am. I'm about as good as there's a pilot episode of the X-Men where Wolverine is Australian for some indiscernible reason, and it's the worst accent ever.
Isn't that Hugh Jackman?
This was about 20 years before Hugh Jackman.
Oh, well, maybe that's why we have Hugh Jackman now.
Yeah, he just got his foot in the door because somebody said, "Hey, I saw that one cartoon from 1980. I guess he's autistic, right? Or Australian, right?" So yeah, here we are.
Same. So this episode was, I kind of feel like 2 seasons in, we're nearing the end. We've got a couple episodes left of this season, and we've sort of established beats. You're like the superhero cartoon guy, and I'm like the arts and literature pie on the Trivial Pursuit game board. I do the music and the books. Yeah, we're lowbrow, highbrow. It's good. We complement each other. So we got the number one. I did a call in some group for what topics do you want? Oh, I think it was actually on X. So you can follow me on X. I think the link is in the show notes. I did a little poll, and the number one request for what they wanted us to cover was Bluey. And I thought, well, that's Matt's beat. Let me just send a text. And I was like, could we please do Bluey? It is obviously autistic. Autistic people love this show. Tell me all the autistic things about Bluey. Is it Blue's Clues? I don't know what it is. And you're like, it is not Blue's Clues. I will tell you what it is. Yeah, and this.
Blue's Clues is when we investigate depression.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, Bluey is a great show. I do love Bluey. I've been watching it for some time. I've got an 8-year-old. He loves Bluey. We've got a ton of Bluey toys. Well, we put Bluey on an endless loop when my son is at my house because it is a really, really, really well done show.
And just for those of us like me whose maybe kids are older or non-existent, what is it?
So it is a show, an Australian show, about a family of healer dogs. Bluey and her father. It's got 2 parents, Bandit and Chili, and there are 2 daughters, Bluey and Bingo. And Bluey and her father Bandit are both blue healers. Bingo and Chili are red healers. the entire show is based around really accurate representations of other dog breeds, including their traits of being a little hyperactive, being very loyal, it's basically Australian Thomas the Train, because Thomas has all these real world locomotives integrated into the stories. Bluey has all these real world dogs integrated into the stories. Bluey goes to school. Bluey has friends, has to work out all these complicated issues. They learn how to play with each other. They have these problems that they have to overcome, and the episodes are all about 6 minutes long. So everything is really, really tight, well scripted. They immediately have a problem, a interaction with a problem, and a resolution. Very, very tight 6 minutes, and the animation is top notch. I mean, it is very, very well done. There's one episode where they sort of meta go out where it shows the animators animating because they're talking about how the world works, and then it's a meta analysis of it. But yeah, and they recently had their first 40-minute episode, which for Bluey counts as a movie. But that's Joe Brum, the creator, was clear in saying that, yeah, this is testing the waters to see if anyone wants a Bluey movie, if anyone can sit still through a Bluey movie, which goes into the autism investigation that we will talk about in just a moment. But yeah, so for 40 minutes, it's an episode called The Sign, and if you haven't seen it and you're a Bluey fan, why haven't you seen it yet? But spoiler alert, we're going to talk about that a little bit. It's a Bluey's family, Bluey's father gets a new job. They never say what the job. So Bluey's dad is an archaeologist who digs up bones. Because what other job would a dog do? Chili is an airport security officer who sniffs luggage.
Okay, I love it.
So yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, they're
Everybody
all
works.
Things. Yeah, and so in this one, Bluey's dad gets an unidentified new job in a new city, and he plans to move. And they put a big for sale sign up in the yard, and Bluey is very upset about this and wants to take down the sign so they won't sell the house, so they won't move. And the sign becomes a much greater meaning when they start looking for signs of what is right, what is wrong, how things are going to go. Is this a good sign? Is this a bad sign? And it's a big thing about how the universe works in mysterious ways, and like butterfly effect, one thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. And by finding a coin, Bluey inadvertently saves her house. It's a very long chain of events throughout the 40 minutes, but it's very satisfying. And it also leads, one of my favorite characters in the entire show is an English bulldog named Winton. Winton is a scamp. If you know Winton, you must love Winton. There's one episode that guest starred Lin-Manuel Miranda as a talking horse, where they were all in their school, and one of Winton's friends is very down on herself for not being able to make a horse out of beeswax. It looked more like a cow, and she said, well, I'll just give up. So the entire story is essentially a story about this story, where they tell the story in real time, and then Winton breaks the fourth wall and starts saying, but what if I was really muscly? And all of a sudden he's big and muscly, and then he flies around shooting rainbows, and he's just got a wonderful imagination, and he's a scamp, and I love him to death. I actually have a little Winton behind me somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're a fan. You're a fan.
I am. So again, I've been a fan of the show and of the characters for some time, and I love looking for signs of the tism everywhere. So, and I know every autistic person I talk to loves the show as well. So I know that it has appeal to autistic people. And when this was brought up, I was like, I don't think it is, but I'll do a deep dive into it. But I have a backup plan in case, because I think I know why people like it. Okay. But as I investigated, it went into a really interesting left turn. So we're going to talk about the straight up tism in the show. We're going to talk about some of the characters, some of the plots, where this might be going. Because again, we're only 3 years in. There's always room later on to expand on these themes to make Bluey more explicitly autistic. So I'm not going to say Bluey is not autistic. I'm not going to say that the show is not autistic.
So this is not a Wednesday Redux. We're not debunking
exactly
Bluey.
I'm going to say the evidence that we have for it, which I believe is inconclusive, and then we'll talk about the inspiration behind it all, which may have more than you may know. So, and it's going to get a little controversial. So get those comments ready, people.
I'm here for it. Look, we got 4 episodes left of the season. A little controversy never hurt anybody.
Yeah, Eminem would agree with that. We need to have him on.
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Mom Spaghetti, come on here and challenge me. Please. Please.
I'm having to not rap all of Lose Yourself right now.
Oh, yes,
so
exactly.
Move on before my brain insists on singing to everyone.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So okay, so let's see here. So again, Bluey and Bingo have extended family. They have some cousins. Primarily Muffin and Socks are their 2 little cousins. They're little kids and they're a little hyperactive. They might be ADHD, but Muffin and Socks are still really, really young. Apparently, young dogs in this world, instead of wearing diapers, just poop on the lawn, and they have to, learn how to, take care of themselves and that. And there's still that, and they still bite people, or rather, people dogs. There's still that, but they might be ADHD. But when we get to the character of Jack Russell, there is an explicit scene where Jack is on the playground talking to his friends, talking about I can't remember who he's talking to, but he's talking specifically about how he can't concentrate in class and he's a bad kid. And he can't concentrate on what the teacher is saying. He can't do homework. He's very, very bad at this, and he feels really bad with a lot of what we would call internalized ableism. And his friend, and I can't remember which one it is. I can't remember if it's Snickers or someone else. It might be. Oh man, I don't know. If you know, put it in the comments because we'll rewatch the episode after this. I don't know for sure, but his friend says, "Yeah, but you're really good at playing army." Yeah, I am, and they find other ways that he can find self-esteem instead of from a school system and the reward that comes from being praised for doing well in school, which is very, very neurodivergent because there's a lot of neurodivergent kids that are left behind in the school system specifically for this reason. Yeah, but we'll get back to school in just a moment. But I want to talk about Baby Race. And if you know, you know. The Baby Race is an episode where Bluey asks about how she grew up and if she's better than one of the other kids. And Mom has to tell her that when she was really, really little, she rolled over before all the other babies, and she got very competitive about that. And she was saying, "My daughter's so smart. Look at that. She rolled over before any other babies." And then the other babies started sitting up, and then they started like crawling, and they started toddling. And Bluey learned how to roll over, so she just transported herself by rolling from place to place and not crawling and not setting up. And Bluey's mom started feeling very, very bad about herself as a mother and went to the doctor to investigate developmental delays.
Oh, okay.
So this is a show that does not tackle regular toddler themes. This is a show that is accessible to toddlers, but very, very much geared towards adults.
When autistic people find a special interest, they go deep and have a lot of knowledge, even if they don't have that formal education background to go with it. If you want to capture your spin in a book, check out Angela's work at differencepress.com, differencepress.com, and find out more about becoming an author and establishing your credibility with a book.
So, again, they go to the doctor repeatedly at each of these milestones and ask about it. And the doctor says, kids develop differently, kids develop differently, kids develop differently. And eventually Bluey is walking. And of course, by the time of this episode, she's walking, talking. She's a regular, I think she's 7, might be 6. I think she's 6 and and Bingo is 4. But there is some other stuff. If you look at the episode Bin Night, Bin Night is the night when they take out the trash cans, called bins by the people in the land of Yahoo Serious. So,
Yahoo Serious reference.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Cheers, 1980s.
Well done. Yeah, that ain't a knife. This is a knife. Wait, let's get some
That's
Crocodile
Crocodile
Dundee. I don't know. I didn't know a Yahoo Serious quote, but I can picture his hair.
No one does.
Okay.
Yeah. But we will come back to Austria versus Australia in a little bit. But yes.
Oh.
So on Bin Night, they take out their trash bins and recycling bins and put them near the edge, and they talk to their neighbor, who is hilariously featured in the Granny Mobile episode. Granny Mobile is probably my favorite 6 minutes of television in the past 10 years, but that I digress. So every trash night, they either take out the trash bin or the trash bin and the recycling bin, because the recycling only comes every 2 weeks, whereas the trash bin comes every week. And, they cut to night, and then the daytime, the trash comes and picks it up. Occasionally a crow tries to eat it out. There's a lot of conversation between Bluey and Bingo and Dad and the neighbor. And it's just a slice of life thing. Until one moment where Dad forgets, is this just a trash night or is this a trash and recycling night? And he asks the neighbor, and the neighbor says, I don't know, I just always do what you do. And then Bluey says, oh, this is just a trash night. Well, how do you know, Bluey? And then she proceeds to say that she's noticed the phases of the moon, and which phases of the moon are trash night and which phases of the moon are trash night and recycling night. Because, again, that's some bottom-up processing right there. So that's some interesting awareness of surroundings, interesting compilation of data. So that's very interesting. And, of course, it never says, well, Bluey, that's an autistic thing. But, it's a very interesting bit of detail there. They also mention that Bingo goes to kindy with a teacher named Mrs. Something or other. I can't remember the name. Name is not important, but it will come up. But this subject will come up again. Just warning. So there is that little bit of evidence. And there is also an episode where Bluey's friend Chloe is playing a game with Bluey and her dad called Octopus. And her dad pretends to be a goofy octopus that, will reach out and try to grab the girls. And they're trying to grab the octopus's treasure, which is a hairbrush. And they have to get the treasure before the octopus gets them. And this is a pretty typical episode of Bluey, because Bluey is very, very focused on imaginative play between parents and kids. So
nice.
It's very much leaning into pretend to be a goofy octopus, pretend to steal the treasure, pretend to do this. And it's Chloe, a Dalmatian, really, really loves this game. So she goes to her dad and says, I'd like to play octopus. And he says, okay. So he pretends to be an octopus and says, no, I have to steal your treasure. And Dad says, octopi don't have treasure, honey. They're octopi. They can't. You're thinking of pirates. And, they go into more detail about, no, you need to do this. Well, I don't think that octopi do that. No, you're supposed to grab me. So he actually grabs her, and she's like, no, you're supposed to try to grab me, and then you don't grab me. And explaining the rules of the game that Bluey's dad made up. But Chloe's dad doesn't really understand this whole imaginative play thing. So what would one of our people do if we didn't understand the rules of a game?
Ask lots of questions.
He immediately goes to the internet.
Yeah, obviously. You research. We research. Data hunger.
To research octopi, whether or not they have treasure. Turns out octopi do have treasure. And he's like, oh, that's that's scientifically accurate. We can do that. So Chloe's dad shows a little bit of the tism there. But of course, again, they never say that he's got the tism. So long story short, Chloe's dad learns how to do imaginative play with Chloe and Bluey. They make up new rules, like, all sorts of other things about how to get around. They agree that you can make up rules that are not rooted in facts, because that's imagination. So there's a very good thing about that. But one of my the most interesting episode, again, you know how I said that Joe Brum, the creator of Bluey, was testing the waters to see if anyone could handle a Bluey movie.
Yes,
Well,
with this 40-minute little episode thing.
So we have the Bluey episode movies, where all of Bluey's friends have gone to see this movie about a brave little monkey. And this brave little monkey is an outsider, is not understood by the other monkeys, and wants to do brave things, include ride a tricycle into the sky, all kinds of interesting stuff. And there's a thunderstorm in the movie. So Bluey's dad says, all right, kid, I'll take you to the movie, but you've never seen a movie before. Are you going to be okay with this? Because I know you don't like loud things. And Bluey indeed does not like...
All right.
Bluey does not like loud things. Bluey does not like thunderstorms, and this movie has a thunderstorm in it.
That said, I feel like all dogs don't like thunderstorms. That's like a dog thing.
Again, this show is very heavily leaning into dog personalities and understanding that. So again, props to Joe Brum for doing, proper dog research on this kind of stuff. So the movie episode features Bingo running around the movie theater, making lots of noise. Bluey's scared about the noise. Bluey's scared about, what will happen, worrying that everything is going to be okay. And this could be representative of either a neurodivergent kid or just a dog. So, and it could be representative of Joe Brum raising his own two daughters and realizing that they can't sit through a movie, so his target audience might not be able to sit through a movie either.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in the 3 seasons of Bluey. Again, there's some great episodes. There's some, like the episode Dragon, where they talk about how Bluey's dad used to love to draw race cars, but a kid who would later become his real estate agent, his childhood bully became his real estate agent in the episode The Sign. And the childhood bully says, that looks nothing like a car. You can't draw. So Bluey's dad gave up drawing. But Bluey's mom, her mom, taught her how to draw, and she said, well, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good for a 7-year-old. If you keep drawing, you will get better, and eventually you'll be great. And it teaches her to never give up so she can keep going, keep improving, because 7-year-olds generally are not great at many things, but if you keep improving, eventually you will get very good. And by the time of the episode, Chili's very, very good at drawing. And she draws a horse, and she has to let go of the horse because the horse reminds her of her mother. And her mother died a long time ago, but left her with that esteem to challenge things. There is an episode called Onesie, where it is Rose Byrne guest stars as Bluey's mom's sister, the aunt. And it turns out that the aunt has never visited Bluey and Bingo for a very specific reason. Because the aunt is infertile and wants children more than anything, and every time she's around the girls, it makes her very, very sad. And they explain that, have you ever, the onesies don't fit, so they have to change the onesies. Bluey really, really, really wants Bingo's onesie, but it won't fit her. And she wants it more than anything, but she can't have it because it's not meant for her. And the aunt is the same way. She wants a kid more than anything, but it's not meant for her. Until the episode The Sign, when she shows up pregnant.
Right. Okay. So, sure, these sound like autistic experiences, but I'm not seeing like autistic culture on blast. So why do you think so many people on the internet who are reputedly known for their intelligence and analysis, when you ask strangers on the internet for information, why did they repeatedly tell me it was autistic? I did not watch to find out.
So my first theory behind all of this goes back to friends, family, and fictional characters.
Okay.
Because that and narrative therapy. Because Bluey, again, like the episode with, the miscarriage, dealing with death, dealing with loss, dealing with moving, every episode of Bluey is expertly crafted to create a specific big emotion. And because of our alexithymia, because of our tenuous connection to our meat bodies, we're able to intellectualize emotions, but we might have difficulty feeling them because we're too close to them. But when we see them, and that's the thing, because these episodes are geared towards kids understanding them. They're geared towards openness. Adults are going to get a lot more subtext. So adult autistics will pick up on a lot of this stuff because, again, it's pretty blatant, but also incredibly nuanced. because if you know what you're looking for, if you know what they're talking about, it's going to hit like a sack of rocks. So these things cause us to feel these great big emotions. And indeed, I have been brought to many a tear by Bluey and her family. There's this one episode where a kid wants to play space, and they 3 kids are together in this box on the playground, and they're in a spaceship, and he says, "I want to get lost in space." And like, why do you want to get lost in space? I just want to get lost in space. And he goes through a tunnel and has this visualization of everything passing. And then he remembers his mom abandoning him. And he needed to reprocess that in order to go through and this is the thing about the way that kids play. Kids play in order to experience the world, in order to understand the world. They're little scientists who bring their life into the laboratory and experiment with life through play. Autistic kids are the same thing, only we are way more hardcore about it, because the things about how autistic girls are well known for setting up elaborate scenes in their dollhouse to reenact things throughout the day, to reenact human interaction they may have had at school, to put things in order. And, autistic boys, we may do the same thing only with robots or trains. Hey, sexual generalization. So, but that's the thing. Kids experiment through play. This is a thing about all kids, especially autistic kids. And every one of these episodes brings a new theme in through play. There's an episode, Barky Boats, where Bluey is understanding how relationships are formed because 2 of these older teen mentors clearly have a thing for each other, and they're trying to navigate communication and relationships. And again, this is all within 6 minutes. So it's a very, very short time that's very, very concentrated on there's a problem, setup, problem, resolution. And it's really, really intense for all these. And again, when you first said Bluey, that was my first thought about all this, because I love Bluey for that very reason. I know a lot of other people love Bluey. It's very emotionally provocative. It's incredibly well written. The animation is really good. It's got a lot of quality parts to it. And again, we're very detail oriented people. We love seeing Easter eggs from time to time. There's this little bird toy named Chattermax that is the most irritating thing on the planet, and I love it to death. I would never have one in my home, but I love their response to the concentrated chaos that is Chattermax. The parents eventually hid Chattermax under the sink because they couldn't deal with it anymore.
Okay. So, I think my parents wanted to hide me under the sink too. I was always called Chatty Cathy.
Oh yeah. It's a thing. I love Chattermax, but we'll get back to Chattermax in just a bit. So again, I did some research, and I did some research with Joe Brum. About Joe Brum, not with Joe Brum. Joe Brum, if you listen to the podcast, come join us. It'll be fun.
I'm so fascinated by this, though, because, first of all, there's so many people in my life who are like, you think everyone is autistic. And I'm like, no, I super duper promise I don't. And I would be so much happier if I did think that.
Yeah.
Also, let me describe divergent, and then we can talk about deviations from a mean, which is fun statistics conversations people love and enjoy. I recommend them.
Yeah.
So, and then Bluey came up and the Good Doctor came up, and God. I was like, not autistic. I'm not autistic. So, Matt, we consider ourselves the PR department for autistic people and autistic culture for sure. Are we failing? Do people not know what autistic is? It's so confusing to me.
Yeah, that's the thing, because autistic people are people.
Right.
And that's we have a lot of people characteristics along with our autism characteristics.
Right.
So and again, we really, really want to relate to characters that we really enjoy because they're friends, family, and fictional characters.
Right. That makes so much sense.
They're as real to us as a neurotypical's Aunt Gertie is to them.
Yeah.
We let these characters into our home every week, or on a continuous loop if you have Disney Plus, as is the way.
Yeah.
This is the way is a registered trademark of Walt Disney Corporation. Tell all are one.
Yeah. We've talked about one of my big special interests of Crowded House. Like, there's just nothing autistic culture about Crowded House, with the exception of maybe the Uber fans.
Yeah.
And the Uber fans in the 90s, because Uber fans in general are autistic culture. But I got nothing. I can't give you a lyric. I couldn't find you a hyperextended elbow. Like, there is just nothing in that experience that's autistic. They do dress very interesting, but even if you look at why, like in the early years, they did a lot of costumes. It's just like, no, it's not there. So no, I do not think everyone is autistic. So
no. And again, I love Bluey dearly, the character and the show. I think it's an incredibly well-written show. I will continue to watch it. I encourage everyone listening to watch it because I think it's really, really well done, both for kids and for adults. But again, I don't see any autistic culture, any autistic traits in there, with one major exception.
Okay.
And so in researching Joe Brum, the creator of Bluey, I discovered that, again, he does not seem to be autistic himself. There's no indication that he's autistic. There is some interviews, and again, we've included a lot of show notes here that I think you might find interesting. There is discussion about how he had some learning difficulties when he was growing up, and that his daughters also have some learning difficulties. So he decided to enroll them in a Waldorf Steiner school. And it turns out that almost the entirety of Bluey is based on the Waldorf Steiner method.
Oh, interesting.
And there are a lot of autistic people who, again, do not do well in mainstream schools. And there's a lot of autistic people who have elected... there's a lot of parents of autistic kids who are probably autistic themselves who elect to go with the Waldorf Steiner schools.
We did this. I mean, we didn't send Jesse to a Waldorf school, but we did go on their tour day. And our Waldorf school is gorgeous. And both Jesse's dad and I work in tech. Oh, yeah. And we're both on our phones and computers all day. And the first thing that was just like, wow, how would we do this? Are there rules on technology?
Yes.
But also there was so much outdoor time. And I am an avid indoors woman. There are bugs and temperatures and air qualities, and there is sun in the out of doors.
Yeah.
There are many things in the out of doors that are not for me. And I was like, I think we'll get kicked out of this place. I judge most places, like most jobs, schools, friendship groups. I was recently elected to a board I talked about on this podcast, and I'm like, how long until I get kicked out? I can now at 51 predict the number of months till I am fired, removed, hereticized. Wait, was Joan of Arc autistic? She had to be.
I would think so.
Seriously, whatever that is, that's me. And I just know the number of days till they start building the pyre.
Yeah.
And I went to that school and I was like, oh, they're not going to like me. I'm going to have questions they don't like.
That's the thing. And this is the underlying philosophy about all this. And this is why, aside from, because again, I don't have any personal experience with the Waldorf Steiner schools. So I have no opinion one way or the other. I know some parents of autistic kids who, again, probably autistic themselves, or definitely autistic themselves, who really like the Waldorf method. There are some who really hate the Waldorf method. So I've heard it both ways. There are some that prefer the Montessori method, which we will get to on a later episode with Maria Montessori was autistic.
Yes.
We will have an episode in the future about homeschooling and microschooling. But again, for right now, we're going to focus on this. And for this, I was able to find an autistic teacher who once worked at a Waldorf school.
Ooh, you got the inside scoop. We're going to hear about circles. I feel like there's going to be a lot of circle discussion. Like,
Oh,
no,
yes,
do you know
yes.
this? They don't let you draw squares. They only want
They do not.
circles.
And that is a big thing about like Bluey's environment with the gigantic circle mats.
I didn't know there were circle mats.
There are circle mats. Bluey's school is a circle shaped. So, yeah, there are Bluey's house has circle chimney. Everything about it is very, very round, and you know, there's all, and again, so this influences the very design of the show. The Waldorf school does not like bold colors; it focuses on pastels. Bluey is animated entirely in pastels. There was a rumor going around that the reason for this is because it's animated in colors that only dogs can see, but that is incorrect.
Oh.
It is animated in pastels because the Waldorf method encourages pastels. And
listen, you're using the word encourages. It's very culty. They require it. Like they will literally like kick you. That's why I was like, there are so many rules. I like squares. I really like bright colors. I'm like, these people are going to kick me out. They told us that in the info session. Only circles and pastels. I'm like, this feels a little bit culty. Do I have to get married in a group wedding by Reverend Sun Young Moon?
Well, this leads into the mastermind behind all this, Rudolf Steiner, the founder of anthroposophy.
Anthroposophy, aka we're getting into some bunk science, people.
It was a early 20th century spiritual new religious movement that postulates the existence of an objective, intellectually comprehensible spiritual world accessible to the human experience. Followers of anthroposophy aim to engage in spiritual discovery through a mode of thought independent of sensory experience. Though proponents claim to present their ideas in a manner that is verifiable by rational discourse, it's that they seek precision and clarity comparable to that obtained by scientists investigating the physical world. Many of these ideas have been termed pseudoscientific by those outside the movement. And so Rudolf Steiner is best known as an early 20th century occultist. And yeah. So on the bright side, he was publicly denounced by Adolf Hitler because Adolf Hitler claimed that he was a Jew. And yeah,
I was like, wait, he was too weird for Hitler? Because Hitler was super like tarot cards and hippy dippy and all that. So he was too weird for Hitler, but no, just too Jewish for Hitler.
Yeah, and well, I don't know if he's Jewish or not, but again, Adolf Hitler claimed everybody he didn't like was Jewish. But on the bright side, Steiner warned against the disaster effects it would have for Central Europe if the Nazis came to power, and he was correct. So, one for Steiner. But yeah, he did a lot of quote unquote spiritual research based on the mystics of the Middle Ages.
Okay.
Yeah. He believed that freely chosen ethical disciplines and meditative training, anyone would develop the ability to experience the spiritual world, including the higher nature of oneself and others. He believed that such discipline and training would help a person become more moral, creative, and a free individual, and a sense of being capable of actions motivated solely by love. Which, again,
I love actions motivated by love. This podcast is an action motivated solely by love.
It is. It's all about making the world a better place. I can get behind that. He also wanted to create a new approach to medicine, where pharmacists and physicians gathered under his guidance to create a pharmaceutical company called Weleda, which now distributes naturopathic, medical, and beauty products.
I bought Weleda stuff when I had a baby. They do like diaper cream that's really good. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Had no idea that was a Steiner thing. Okay.
Anthroposophic medicine is practiced in some 80 countries. It is a form of alternative medicine based on pseudoscientific and occult notions. So,
I told you pseudoscience was coming. I could hear it a mile away. I can smell pseudoscience now.
So he was very big on social reform. But on the bright side, he also wanted political institutions to be democratic, establish political equality, and protect human rights.
Okay, I like those things.
should nurture the free and unhindered development of science, art, education, and religion, and economic institutions should enable producers, distributors, and consumers to cooperate voluntarily to provide efficiently for society's needs. He saw this division as a responsibility as a vital task, which would make up consciously the historical trend towards mutual independence of these realms. He did not like all of this. He wrote 4 mystery plays: The Portal of Initiation, The Soul's Probation, The Guardian of the Threshold, and The Soul's Awakening, modeled on the esoteric dramas of Edward Schroer, I'm going to mangle all these because I don't speak German, Maurice Maeterlinck, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Oh, yeah, Goethe. Yeah, Goethe, he's a good guy. Man, we'll do a whole episode about that. But he also developed the art of eurythmy, the root word that eurythmics came from.
I'm like, wait, he did the eurythmics? I love them. Sweet dreams are made of this.
Exactly. As visible speech and song. There are archetypal movements or gestures that correspond to every aspect of speech, the sounds or phonemes, the rhythms, the grammatical function, so that every soul quality, joy, despair, tenderness, etc., to every aspect of music, tones, intervals, rhythms, and harmonies. And again, this is a big thing for Bluey, because Bluey, being an animated show, the characters are very animated. They're very expressive with their facial features, their arms, their legs, their tails. They are very big on this. There's a lot of random singing. There's a melodica for a lot of the music. There's a lot of there's very few written songs, and as a matter of fact, the sign has one of those few written songs as sung by Bluey's teacher Calypso. And this is another thing. So Bluey's school is very, very much a Waldorf Steiner school. They never say it, but again, once you know it, you can't unsee it. Her teacher is Calypso, first name basis with the kids. Unlike Bingo's teacher, who is Ms. I can't remember the last name. So Bingo, for some reason, is not in the Waldorf Steiner school, but again, she's only 4. So there are 3 distinct age groups for the Waldorf Steiner schools, 4 to 7, 7 to 12, I believe, and 12 and above. I've got a lot of notes from the teacher, so everything. Okay. Yeah, I got so much. But yeah.
And is it like it's kind of like the Montessori thing where like you have the older kids teaching the younger kids?
Yeah. No grades.
I mean, not teaching, but like mentoring or whatever, shared class spaces.
Yeah. And it's all about imaginative play and using that and the older kids and the teachers guiding through practice so that the younger kids will imitate the older kids and learn by doing. And for instance, like instead of saying you have to pick up your toys, you start picking up the toys and the kid will join you in picking up toys. So they will naturally want to imitate you instead of being told what to do, which again, if you got a kid who's PDA, this might be the way to go. Because there's never a teacher saying, do this. No, I'd rather die.
Right.
So on Bluey, again, aside from everything being pastel tones, when they go to school, everything is a wooden toy. And this is a very much a Waldorf Steiner thing because Waldorf Steiner does not like technology. There will be no iPads. There will be no iPhones. Chili and Bluey's mom and dad do have TV, do have iPhones, do have technology. But I think that Bluey only uses an iPad in one episode, and that's when Bingo's in the hospital. But there's a lot, and of course Chattermax, which again could be into this philosophy that Chattermax is an electronic toy that is the most irritating thing all over. Not a natural toy, not a wooden toy, not of nature. It is very unnatural, and it freaks everybody out, and they have to hide it. So this could be going back to that philosophy. But they have these little gnomes, and the little gnomes are so adorable. There's gnomes throughout every episode. There's garden gnomes. There's so many dog gnomes, and I want to collect them all. And gnomes and fairies and magical thinking is a very, very big part of the Waldorf Steiner school. And a big thing about Rudolf Steiner himself, because he was very much a proponent of magical thinking. which again, from traditional things of saying, "Why do you think it happened?" Fairies, and that could be problematic. But again,
I just saw the Steiner connection there because he's like all woo-woo, spiritual, pseudoscience.
So Bluey is filled with a lot of dog gnomes. Again, adorable. I want to collect them all. But when they go to school, especially like, on the Barky Boats episode, how they make boats out of bark, not boats out of, paper, not boats out of metal, certainly, or plastic, God forbid. But they take natural things to make boats out of it. There's one time when they hit a typewriter so that they could go play. There's a lot of stuff where it's all about play in the natural world, going outside, playing with clouds in the clouds episode. There's everything about it is natural play, figuring out how things work.
I think they make the kids go outside and like paint a lot of clouds. Then you like interpret how it's like some spiritual message coming through the clouds, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and there's no guidance on how to paint, how to color. You don't color pictures, you make your own. So this could be a big thing about that. And like on the episode, that one of my favorite, the Lin-Manuel Miranda episode, which has my favorite little guy, Winton, the English bulldog. They're creating horses out of colored beeswax instead of clay or Play-Doh. It's colored beeswax, incredibly natural stuff. So yeah, they don't like playgrounds. It's about playing in nature. So it's a very everything about Bluey and what appeals to people watching it is largely based on Waldorf Steiner ideology, which now that I see it, I can't unsee it. So whether you are because let's see here. There's a big thing on let's see here. Women wear aprons.
Oh my, okay.
Yeah. Let's see here. Again, good for PDA. I'm going. I did an interview and just recorded everything freeform, so I haven't had the chance to sort everything out yet. Let's see here. No TV, no iPads.
Wait, do they do the aprons on Bluey at all? Like, is there a version of that, or this is just a Waldorf or a Steiner thing?
That's a good question. I don't know if anything related to dogs wearing aprons, but it's definitely and hats. There's a big emphasis on hats because
fucking weird.
Because quote, the warmth escapes the head, so all the kids wear hats, even in the middle of summer. Babies are always wearing hats because it's the body and the philosophy of it. And even in the Bluey video game, you go around and collect hats.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there are episodes about Bluey about wearing hats, and different jobs have different hats, and there's a big influence on how hats work. So yeah, it's very, very interesting.
That's what this is. This is like cult indoctrination.
A little bit, yeah. So
my God.
In Waldorf Steiner schools, ages 7 and up, doing lessons, there's a focus on stories, a big focus on fairy tales, because it's about the underlying emotional lesson, spiritual lesson.
We love sharing stories of autistic culture, and if you are seeing yourself in any of these stories and you're wondering if maybe you're one of us, or maybe you're already diagnosed or self-diagnosed, and you want to know if Matt can help you live your life better and be more authentically autistic, check out his website at mattlowrylpp.com. That's Matt, M-A-T-T, Lowry, L-O-W-R-Y. And then that LPP, it stands for Licensed Psychological Practitioner. So head on over to mattlowrylpp.com and learn more about working with my buddy Matt.
Let's see here. Lots of natural light. There are no overhead lights.
That's a whole thing.
Yes.
So that could be sort of autistic culture. I feel like in Autistica, there would be no overhead lamps and there would be no fluorescent buzzing lights for sure.
Yeah. And again, we like, a lot of us like nature. I would love nature if it was a constant, like 65, 70 degrees.
Correct.
And no bugs.
Correct. Same. I'm all in.
If I didn't have the process complexity that goes along with all of nature, constantly challenging my allergies and trying to kill me at every step. One time, I went outside and it was the most beautiful sunset I ever saw. The wind was blowing. The air smelled great. So I just stood there in the majesty of nature and took a great big breath in and sucked in a bug and almost died.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Damn you,
listen,
bugs. Damn you.
One time I was on a hen do, which is the British version of a bachelorette party.
As evidence in Dinosaur, yes.
There we go. Yes, there's a hen do in Dinosaur too. So I'll put that in the show notes in case you missed our dinosaur episode. Anyway,
it's a good one. Go see it.
One of the girls in the wedding party had a yacht, which was a delight. And I'd never been on a yacht. It was in the Bahamas. This whole thing is a boat. It goes on the ocean or the Caribbean Sea. You get to see everything, but get this, fully enclosed with Wi-Fi and air conditioning.
Oh, I like that.
That's the answer. Oh, and a kitchen. And they just kept bringing us food. And I'm like, I love nature. I'm just not rich enough. Nature with a yacht?
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I would very much like to be in nature, away from nature.
Yeah, I was like, I figured out the attraction of nature. I just need a yacht. It's great.
Yeah. I'm in Kentucky where everything is trying to kill me at all times, including most of the people. So if I could go up and be in like the tundra or something where it's nice balmy 65 in the summer, I'm there for that. But I can definitely see why the Waldorf Steiner approach is very persuasive for autistic people, because if you have PDA, it's not based on demands. If you're not great with the whole ADHD, following directions,
sitting still,
exactly. If you need to get up and wiggle, if you have a very creative mind that is stifled by a system that is not made for outside the box thinkers, I can definitely see why this is appealing. I got a little concern about the other underlying stuff about Waldorf, about Rudolf Steiner, but there's some good stuff and there's some bad stuff, just like everything. I feel like this is turning into like the Walt Disney episode, but at least Hitler did not like this guy, so that counts as a giant green flag for me. Listen.
I got stop!
Oh,
don't say it.
Oh no,
Steiner. Like, I know you haven't read this stuff, but it's
there's
it's
more.
Bad. It's all about race and how like the white race is superior. So I don't know why Hitler didn't like him. But yeah,
we almost got through an episode without intense controversy.
No.
Shall we address the intense controversy of Rudolf Steiner's incredible racism?
He's incredibly racist. He said different races, obviously, I'm sure you'll agree with this, have different spiritual qualities that are aligned with their evolution. So the whiter you are, the more evolved you are.
Oh no.
So bad.
Oh no!
God, it's literally like racist indoctrination.
Oh no!
And then, like, I literally, Waldorf sounded amazing to me for all the autistic culture reasons you mentioned. And then we went, and I was like, they're gonna hate me. I didn't know they were autistic. I didn't know I was autistic. I think I was 36 or 7, so I was probably 2 years away from my diagnosis.
Yeah.
So I'm like, these people hate me, but I think they're cool. And I would often advocate them. Like for many years, I'd be like, Waldorf is amazing. Like I couldn't handle the strict requirements of no squares and no screens, because I'm pro squares and screens. And really they wanted you, like everybody was biking to the school. It was like, there was a lot of bird watching on the weekends. I was like, it's not for me, but I thought it was great. Kind of like for the reasons you're saying.
Sounds vaguely Amish.
Yeah, I was like, but back to nature, screen time, it sounded good. I don't know. They had lots of parenty stuff. I thought I was going to have a community.
At what point did they pull out the colored paint swatches to measure your skin tone to figure out how spiritual you were?
I'm going to answer that for you.
Oh crap. There's an answer. Oh, hold on.
Oh my God.
People.
I realize it's related to the yacht story.
Oh God.
So my friend.
Interrelatedness. Amazing. Yes, good.
My friend who has a friend who has a yacht, bless her heart.
Is she white?
She's white.
Okay.
My friend is not white. The yacht owner is white and Australian.
Oh,
so
well, there you go.
Double down. But my not white friend, for her 50th birthday, we all went to Italy. And she is an amazing planner. She's like definitely anxious attachment type. So she probably started planning this a year before time, and it would be like 6:15 we will eat a cracker, 6:25 we will have a piece of cheese, 6:50.
That sounds neurotypical.
Like, she is very good attention to detail, my friend Monica. Like very good attention to detail. And she just can't relax until everything is planned in great detail in advance. And I'm here for it. It was great. So I knew I wanted to go on this trip, but it was a big trip. There were like 20 of her friends. It was her 50th birthday party. So you're trying to think of things. We went to Tuscany. What does everyone want to do?
Eat.
Yep. So there were a bunch of dinners. Like we went to a pizza place. We went to whatever. But in Italy, one of the things everybody wants to do is wine tasting. And if you're not a drinker, like big respect for you. I don't drink much anyway. But in Italy, like, yes, let's go to a vineyard. And
I'm just glad we're on the same page about the eating. Go on.
Yes. I did like the eating. I don't really like drinking, but I'm down for a vineyard. Sounds fun. So she arranged this private vineyard tour. And it was super cool because it was called a biodynamic vineyard. I had no idea what that was. I was like, biodynamic, it's great. And we get there. And by the way, if you're listening and you've already figured it out, in addition to Waldorf schools, Rudolf Steiner's great commitment to the world was inventing also pseudoscience-based biodynamic agriculture. So we get to this.
Fantastic.
So this is we're basically at a Waldorf school. So we get to this vineyard in Tuscany. I don't recommend visiting it, but they were lovely. Like they're like everyone at the Waldorf school, like no one's weird. They're very nice. And, no one's unpleasant. They're weird in good ways. That's a positive word anyway for me. So we get there and they do a vineyard tour. And the first thing they explain to us is everything they do is based on lunar phases. And they don't use any chemicals, and they gather cow horns.
What?
Or they cut off the cow horns. They get too long. They're dangerous or something, like bull horns. And they fill them with cow poop. And throughout the farm, instead of using any insecticides, they just use cow poop with these cow poop in cow horns buried. And that's going to keep the bugs away. And listen, I hate a bug.
Does that work?
No, it does not, my friend. It does not work.
Because again, there are phrases like you'll get more flies with honey, but a load of bullshit will get them every time.
There you go.
I hear that bugs are drawn to poop.
That's so interesting. What a theory. So I just find it weird. And my husband and I, wherever we go, we have a computer in our hands, which is 10,000 times greater than the Library of Alexandria. And we are so happy to be alive in a time like this.
Oh, yes.
So we're Googling things like, does poop in cow horns buried keep insects away? Because it just doesn't. Paul is sciencey. I'm not sciencey, but it's still not hitting me right. So I'm like, How would this work? What is this? So basically, obviously, because the shape of the cow horn is a crescent, which is reminiscent of the moon, it's going to harness the cosmic forces of the moon to improve the health of the soil. I mean, obvi, right?
That sounds like bullshit.
Yeah, but
Yes.
let me tell you, I don't love wine anyway. I have never had wine or food that tasted so terrible in my life, but everyone was pretending it tasted good. And I was in some episode of The Emperor's New Clothes like I have never been in before.
Oh my God.
Smoked like a chimney. I was just like, all I could do, I had to go inside. I have pictures. I'm going to find these and put these in the show notes. I have pictures of me having a meltdown in the bathroom at this vineyard. I had to leave the table. I was like, why is everybody pretending this is good? There were a million bugs outside. They served us, this was like a $200 meal and vineyard tour and a wine flight. And they like forgot the fucking meal. It was cheese and crackers and then like a weird brownie. And they brought us some sort of beet pasta. I got to look up these pictures. It was the weirdest meal. There was no meal. Paul and I kept waiting for the meal, so we didn't want to fill up on the appetizers, which were like Ritz crackers and fucking Velveeta in Italy. And everyone's like, this is amazing. And I'm like, and then I kept trying to talk about pseudoscience at the table, which nobody was enjoying at all. So then all I could do to regulate was like Google everything about this dude at this dinner. It was hours and hours, and I was starving and I didn't bring snacks. And then I start reading about his fucking cure for cancer, Matt.
What?
He cured cancer.
With the moon? Did he cure cancer with the moon and bullshit? What?
Oh, no. He cured cancer with mistletoe. Fucking mistletoe. Fucking mistletoe. That's it.
Yeah. Well,
hey, y'all got cancer? Go find some mistletoe. You can eat it. You know what else it is? A poison that kills people.
It's actually, and it's also transmitted through poop. This man loved his poop.
He loves poop and no bright colors. And I have made Steiner a special interest. I have his weird anthroposophy books. I have read
now?
Oh yeah, all the podcasts.
And so you can talk more on this frankly bizarre philosophy. Go tell.
I cannot believe, and I feel like once you know about a cult, for me, I'm going to speak for me. I don't like it when people speak for other people. Once I know about a cult, it's like I have some weird shield where I block out things because I just want nothing to do with it. Like it feels like I know it must be pattern matching, but it feels like I'm psychic. And so
because stereotypical pattern recognition, you know.
Right. So I feel like that's a thing. I feel like other people that are autistic are like told they're psychic or feel like they're psychic. I have fallen for some like weird new age bullshit in my past. I renounce all of it. Science is real. But it did seem like I could predict the future because I feel like I can compared to neurotypical people.
Because you're attenuated to the details that they miss and then the inevitable patterns that follow.
Right. But then the pattern that I pick up on is this weird new agey, like John Edward is probably, actually, I'm sure of it. Cause I think John Edward like believes he's talking to dead people on his show Crossing Over, but he's clearly just pattern matching. Cause I can see the patterns he's matching.
Yeah.
And so, but I think he actually believes it. Oh, really? Is that a thing?
It is. So, slight detour. I was able to participate in a cold reading years and years and years ago because I found it fantastic. Fantastically horrifying. Fantastic from an observational standpoint, not as a legit standpoint. But again, there was this woman does anyone in here have a relative that's whose name starts with a J or a K or an M or an F? Like, I do. And this
I do.
was
It's
this
me.
was this a man or a woman or an uncle or an aunt or yes, it was. And then just continued on like this, and I was like, fascinating. And then she says, I'm sensing someone who was killed in 9/11. Was anybody here? And then nobody raised their hands. She was like, surely
or another terrorist attack, or maybe it was a fire in a building, or anything bad, really.
Well, she doubled down and said, surely one of you has a relative that was killed in 9/11, and then nobody raised her hand. And, it's just, man, this is awkward for you then, isn't it?
Oh my God, it's so right. Yeah. But I think they believe it. Like, having experienced that world, I will speak for myself and say, when I was spewing all that bullshit, I did 100% believe it, because I was doing so much pattern matching. Everything was like a multiple choice test. And I was like, well, that could be this, this, and this. Like the planets on the moon and the fairies and the contomble and like, it just like snowballed, and I could connect everything into some grand conspiracy theory that I completely bought into myself. I could have passed a lie detector test.
Prior to QAnon, I did love a good conspiracy theory.
Right.
QAnon kind of killed that for me. I loved listening to Coast AM before it got all right wingy. I loved hearing about the people who could build UFOs out of granite. About I love that kind of stuff when it was fun.
And right. And I do think that probably we're not doing an episode on it, or maybe this is the episode on it. I do think conspiracy theories are sort of a part of our culture.
Is Bluey part of a cult?
Bluey is part of a cult, man. Like, listen. So now that I know, as soon as you said this, I was like, oh, this episode's taking a turn. But
dear listeners, thank you for accompanying us on this journey. We'll see where it goes. Continue.
Yeah. But I think autistic culture is predisposed to conspiracy theories. Because we can see all the connections.
Yeah.
And I am like super sad about that and very guilty about that. But it's also what's so cool about autistic culture. But man, it gets dark if you don't do your research. And if you have a vested interest, like all of the white crunchy granola power moms with their like
indigo children,
lawyer husbands and indigo children. Yeah. And I wanted to be a part of that. But the thing is that when I started, it was literally because this biodynamic farm was so fucking terrible that I started like researching it. Like, number one, there are people who have died of cancer because of Steiner, for sure.
Yeah.
But let's just think about the Waldorf kids and also those teachers. Yeah. So I just want to throw this stuff out there. We've been talking about how cute it is that they say no technology.
Yeah.
Do you know what happens if you are a teacher, or let's say a high school student, that is not exposed to systems like Canva or Google Docs or how to fucking use Google for your research?
Yeah.
You are at such a disadvantage. If you want to leave that Waldorf school, or that Waldorf school shuts down, where are you going to get another job as a teacher where you don't have tech skills? Anyone?
Yeah. This is one of the big things that my source was very unhappy with, because they did not appreciate that she asked a lot of questions. That was not a priority. They did not appreciate that she did research. She did a lot of
especially if you're like, why are they burying fucking cow horns with shit in it? Yeah. Like, they don't like it because it's like researching Mormonism. There's no way to come up with any logical conclusion. The only answer is don't look.
Yeah. Because unless you look in that hat, you're not going to see in that hat.
These kids, when I went, I want to say Jesse was probably 4, and they were doing like leaf tracing and, mobiles with pine cones and shit. That is great for 4-year-olds. They are still doing that at 17. I know how hard it is to get in college or get a job. These kids are not academically prepared. And so, Matt, do you know what they do for a living?
Become Waldorf teachers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can be
It's
biodynamic farmers or Waldorf teachers.
It's a pyramid scheme.
It's a pyramid scheme. So, and then they start going to conventions. Like any teachers, they're going to go to conferences, and they go to Steiner schools for their degrees. And then they go to these conferences, and then it gets more and more woo-woo. Like, we're in the like Scientology, Mormonism, everybody gets a planet sort of woo-woo land. So
I want a planet.
You can have one
now. Yay!
No, I think you have to do a blood oath. You can't have it right now. You have to swear on your blood trails and intestines and wear fancy white underwear or something.
I want to keep my blood, and I don't. Yeah, tidy whitey's not for me. Go on.
And like all good libertarians who are just asking questions, they set up their schools as nonprofits. They're tax deductible, and they're not required to meet the same rigorous standards that our public schools are. So the richest parents are taking their kids and their effort. So instead of running the PTA at a public school and giving back to their community, they're siphoning their resources to these private schools because, again, no overhead lights and good for PDA and lots of autism mom together time. Like, there are these reasons for it, but our public schools lose out.
Yeah.
Like, that's a major thing that happens. They get huge tax breaks.
Ooh.
And they are not held to any sort of core curriculum standards where these kids are graduating with skills to do anything but propagate the cult of Waldorf and Steiner. And oh my God, I cannot believe Bluey is part of the conspiracy theory, or part of the cult, but I have a conspiracy theory about this, which I hope is true. Everyone's talking about what this new movie / extended episode means. Is it the end of Bluey? Is Bluey moving into movies? This is what I hope. I hope the guy who invented it, you're going to tell me his name again?
Joe Brumm. Brumm.
You invited him on the show, but I messed up your invitation. Unless, Joe, my friend, are you leaving the cult of Steiner? Are you ready to add bright colors and squares to your show? And if so, come on the show and talk about your conversion, because we can support autistic kids without putting them into cults. That's my 2 cents.
This episode is called Cults.
I'm so sorry. When you said Steiner, I was like, oh no, we found a rabbit hole and I'm going to fall in it.
Well, that's the thing, because a good episode doesn't take you where you think it's going to go. It takes you to someplace brand new and uncomfortable. So, but that's the thing. I after doing this research, I can't see Bluey any other way now, because everything about it is so much a part of this philosophy.
Wait, did the teacher that you talked to already know that about Bluey? Were they like, oh, no. Bluey, yeah, that's you?
No. Yeah,
okay.
Once I researched that and made the connection and started talking about this, she was like, I don't know if I can watch Bluey anymore, because it's so very, very, very Waldorf Steiner oriented. It's so steeped in the Steiner ideology.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, again, well done show. It's very creative, but again, I'm going to have to look for the subtext, because just like we are blatantly selling you a whole day's worth of autism in every episode, Bluey is doing the same with some Steinerism.
Yeah.
Anthropomorphism. What's the anthropomologies? What is that called?
Anthrophosophy. Oh God, anthroposophy.
Yeah, if anyone who heard this episode heard me say the word, leave it in the comments.
Anthroposophy.
I don't remember what I said.
You did get it right the first time. Anyway, I'm having a moment because so much trauma. And But the one thing I have heard about Bluey and all the people who requested this episode, and obviously I would have taken the episode if I knew. But everyone who requested it said it was super emotionally regulating.
It is, and that's the thing, because, it's one of those things where, again, the friends, family, fictional characters, and the narrative therapy standpoint, it very, very much helps you feel those emotions, because it's very, very good about evoking emotions, especially with like camera angles and putting you in the perspective of the character. And like even with like Chili's sister, the infertile one, reaching out, and all you see are her arms reaching towards Bingo, who runs off into the distance through like a fisheye lens, in a cartoon. It's very, very good about getting to evoke these emotions in the viewer. So yes, it is good about that. But yeah. So there's a very good chance that it appeals to autistic people. It's kind of like, eventually we may get to doing an episode about Jerry Seinfeld, which will have no controversy whatsoever.
No. Nothing like dating 17-year-olds when you're 40. So
Shoshana. Oh, Shoshana.
I went to school with her. Did you know we were both at GW at the same time? I know her.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Yeah.
She was making purses in our dorm room. I don't still know her. I knew her when I was 18.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's when he was dating her, right?
Yeah, I was a sophomore and she was a freshman, and they had been dating for about 6 months, and she was making purses in our dorm room, and I bought one from her just so that I could be near somebody who was fucking Jerry Seinfeld, which I thought was so cool and amazing.
What's the deal with pedophilia?
More darkness on this episode. You guys, if you like Bluey, I want you to keep watching it. Don't let us ruin Bluey for you.
So dark. This episode is called Darkness.
Yeah.
So on that note, hey Angela, what's your favorite part about being autistic this week? Because we need an uplifting moment. Because
I got an uplifting moment for you. Listen,
Winton's not here to save us.
Listen, my favorite thing about being autistic this week just happened, but I'm going to tell you a little story about it. It is info dumping. I love this part of our culture. And there are many things I love about info dumping. I love asking people for info dumps. I really hated small talk in the past. Yeah. And now when I meet someone, whether it's through an autistic circle and I know they're autistic or not, my default question instead of how are you is like, what's your thing? What are you most interested in? And I just use the word info dump. I'm like, tell me something I don't know. I love facts, info dump. And I got like the weirdest, longest info dump about horror movies. I don't know or care of horror movies. And I'm like, give it to me. I love how people light up and self-regulate, and you see who they are when they info dump.
Yes, very much so.
And maybe you saw that about me, info dumping about cults.
I did, yes. Because true crime, actually a major autism focus. But yes, right, go on.
It's true. So we in my household right now, it's a really rough time. So we got a lot of stuff going, a lot of dysregulating things. We got like health things, school things, career things, home things, so many things. It's a things time. And I was thinking about what episode, and I'm not going to give it away, but it will be the next episode. So if you keep listening, you'll hear it. But I was thinking about the next episode. And as I was thinking about it, I suddenly thought, if I can pick a topic to research for the next episode that is one of my husband's special interests, then instead of what everyone in my household is doing right now is 16 years in the future advanced planning. So this, then that, if this, then that, if this, then that, if this, then that. And every time the conversation stops, or if we don't have like a mouth filled with food, we're like, okay, but if I do this, then this. So it's like Chess is autistic nonstop for 15 different things. Like I could go like I had a medical test and now they want to do another medical test. And I'm like, I could do the other one, but then this, and this, or I could not do it. And then this, and this. there's so much this, and missing. And I'm like, I need something to talk about in this house that is not like completely anxiety provoking. And also with my friends, it's been like, well, if you say this, the judge might say this. So there's so much this, and missing. So I was like, I'm going to get my husband to info dump. And holy shit, most romantic, love-filled, amazing week in a time of stress. Whenever we had a minute, I was like, play me another song, show me another movie, tell me more about this person. Like, what was your favorite thing about this? Like, oh, this person was into cats. How many cats did they have? What were the cats' names? How many toes did the cats have? What other celebrities like cats? Let's talk more about cats. It has been so much fun to know this is not only healing, like we're not doing talk therapy, not healing, not helpful for us as a couple, but we're just literally like appreciating each other's special interests and
mutual info dumping and appreciation.
Oh God, you guys go do it. If you are fighting with your spouse, just suddenly get interested in, I don't know, Celtic swords or something and be tell me everything you can about Celtic knots. I noticed you have a Celtic knotless necklace, honey. What can we find out about Celtic knots? And then just do it together.
Yes.
Oh,
this
good.
Is the way. Yes.
This is the way. So that is what I loved about and I knew because I listened to the Autistic Culture podcast only because I have to when the editor sends it to me. But I knew, I'm like, what would be the thing to do here that will reduce anxiety? And it worked. So, huzzah.
Yeah. The only thing that reduces my anxiety is fat bottom girls, but we may talk about that in the future.
We may talk about that in the future. If you want to know what the next episode is, there's so many ways to find out, but one of them is to head over to our Substack. And then you could just comment, what's the next episode on any of our episodes? Go to autisticculturepodcast.com. Give us your email address if that feels fun. This podcast is always free, but there are ways to support the show and our autistic staff by becoming a supporting member. You'll get actual time with me and Matt where you can info dump with us if you want. Live, actual real time, even though I know we're your friends anyway, because we're in the car with you. You could be in our book club. I have my next entry for the book club right here.
Is that Henry Winkler?
It's Henry Winkler being Henry Winkler. The Fonz and Beyond. If you want my review, join, become a sustaining member. And look, I don't have it up there because it's technically hard, but if you want to be a sustaining member and you feel like the prices we have up there aren't something that's in your budget, just write me an email. It's info@autisticculturepodcast.com. Tell me what does feel good and we'll figure out how to add it. I don't know how to add it, but we'll figure it out, or we'll make River figure it out because she's good at figuring things out. So we want you to be part of our book club. We want you to be on our live Ask Us Anything calls. We want you to be in the inner family if that's something that is in your budget. And if not, we want you to not join cults and enjoy our show. And paint blue circles if you like them, pastel blue circles.
There you go.
That's what we got, Matt.
I'm just so many jokes, and none of them appropriate at all. So yes,
we gotta stop recording so you can tell me the jokes. Let's say goodbye to everyone.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Autistic Culture Podcast.
If you like this show, you can help other people find it by taking a few minutes to rate and review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
You can find out more about writing your book with me at differencepress.com. That's difference, DIFFERENCE, press, PRESS.com.
Or getting a psychological evaluation or consult with me at www.mattlowrylpp.com. That's MATT, Matt Lowry, LOWRY, LPP, as in licensed psychological practitioner.com.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. And remember,
no one ever changed the world by being like everyone else.
Special thanks to our content manager, River Robbins, and Aaron Stoner, our producer, for making us look and sound good.